Good day, grade 12. Welcome to another lesson with KHUMALO.M, the Geography Sangoma. Today, grade 12s, we are going to look at the tropical cyclone. Now, this is a topic that is examined in paper 1. We are going to take a look at what the exam guideline wants us to know in preparation for our examination paper 1. Now, grade 12, the tropical cyclone on the exam guideline for 2023. This can be obviously for 2024, 2025, and up to a certain years. So it's just that this slide were made in 2023. Now, on the tropical cyclone, grade 12, you must know the general characteristics, the area of formation, and associated terms in different parts of the world. What we call them, different parts of the world. We'll take a look at factors that are necessary for formation. We are going to look at the stages of development. We are going to look at weather pattern associated with a tropical cyclone. We look at the cross section through a tropical cyclone and be able to interpret it. We are going to look at the impact on human activities, social and economic, and the environmental, the impact of weather associated with tropical cyclones, the precautional and the management strategies to manage the effects of the tropical cyclone, the identification of synoptic weather maps and satellite images, identification of stages of development on a synoptic weather map, the reading and the interpretation of applicable to weather systems or weather symbols. And we must look at different case studies of a recent tropical cyclone anywhere in the world. So grade 12s, before you can go into an examination and say you are ready for a paper, for paper 1 examination, you must note the following, grade 12. You must have mastered everything here in the exam guideline in terms of tropical cyclone. So maybe this is a difficult section in your paper 1. So I'm going to take you through the tropical cyclones and see if we can solve our problems. Now, I want us to look at the following concept in relation to tropical cyclone: adiabatic heating. We look at it occurs when air descends and compresses, resulting in very little precipitation. Adiabatic lapse rate, it is the rate at which the temperature of air passes changes in response to the compression or the expansion associated with elevation change, and under the assumption that the process is adiabatic. For example, no heat exchange occurs between the given air parcels and its surrounding. We look at with the concept of Coriolis force. A Coriolis force is a force caused by the rotation of the earth which results in the deflection of wind and ocean currents. The deflection is to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. We are also going to look at the concept of dissipate. What is to dissipate? Is to break up or disappear or weaken. So when it dissipates, it breaks up, it disappears, or it weakens. We are going to talk about the eye. The eye is the calm area at the center of the tropical cyclone. The eye wall, the wall of cumulonimbus clouds which surrounds the eye of a tropical cyclone. We look at latent heat, the heat or energy that is absorbed or released during a phase and change of a substance. It could either be from a gas to a liquid or a liquid to a gas. And then we talk about the concept of it makes landfall. We always hear in the case studies they talk about it made landfall, a landfall. Certain tropical cyclone made landfall. What will it make it mean, or what sense are they talking about? The term is used to describe the arrival of the eye of a tropical cyclone over the coast. Now we look at the concept of storm surge. It's an abnormal rise of water along the coastal associated with low pressure system as a tropical cyclone. Then we look at the concept of tropical cyclone, which is a powerful rotating storm system around a low pressure cell which develops over a warm ocean between the tropics and the eye as it moves over the land. The tropical cyclone landfall. A tropical cyclone is classified as a marking or a landfall when the center of the storm moves across the coast. In strong tropical cyclones. Then we talk about a vortex. It's a mass of spinning air that attracts more air to its center. And then the last one that I want us to look at, it is the water spout. A water spout is a weak tornado that forms at the sea associated with the storm clouds of a tropical cyclone. And then let's quickly look at the tropical cyclone. It takes us to grade 11 revision, which refers to pressure belts as indicated in revision session on the mid-latitude cyclone that we've dealt with in the previous lessons. Now the diagram below shows the area of a tropical cyclone. Where are they found? So that is a map of the world that shows where tropical cyclones, that in other places they're called the hurricanes, the tropical cyclones in South Africa, the tropical cyclone, the typhoon. Now the area of development, grade 12 of a tropical cyclone, this weather system develops between latitude 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south. This results of the confluence of the tropical easterlies in 5 degrees north to 30 degrees north and 5 degrees south to 30 degrees south of the equator, and they do not develop over the equator, which is 5 degrees north and south, because there is a weak Coriolis force, or we can say there is no Coriolis force. So why do the tropical cyclone do not develop over the equator? Is because there is no Coriolis force. So the other names that are given to the tropical cyclone in different regions, they are called the hurricanes in Mexico, the typhoons in Japan, and the eastern China, tropical cyclones in Africa and Australia. The source of energy for this weather system is the latent heat is released as warm, moist tropical air condenses. Now, this is the source of energy where the tropical cyclone gets its energy. It gets its energy from latent heat, which is released as warm, moist tropical air condenses. Now, what are the conditions that are necessary for a tropical cyclone to form, grade 12? Now, it forms between 5 degrees north and south of the equator because there is weak Coriolis force at the equator, so it will not form there at the equator. The ocean must be 26.5 degrees Celsius. Now, why am I saying 26.5? Now, if you write 26, you are not going to be credited marks. You are going to get a wrong for your answer. Then which means it requires warm waters has a high evaporation rate to feed the low pressure system. So the degree or the temperature that is required for a tropical cyclone to form will be 26.5 degrees Celsius. So it's 26.5, or you can say 27, but it is around 26.5 degrees Celsius. And then it developed only over the tropic oceans. Why is it developing over the tropic oceans? It's because there is less friction over a smooth surface. Hot, moist air creates unstable air that continues to rise. Unstable air results in condensation. Condensation releases latent heat into the atmosphere, which now provides more energy for these tropical cyclone. There is surface convergence. We know that is coming together of air. The air is forced to rise when it converges at a low pressure system. Then there is upper air divergence, where air moves apart in the upper air. More moist air is drawn into the system at the surface as the air diverge in the upper air. Forgive me about that, in the upper air, not in the upper course. The intense low pressure cell enhanced by the tropical jet streams in the upper air because of strong surface convergence, convection, and upper air divergency. Then now the tropical cyclone also needs Coriolis force. Remember, the Coriolis force is the force that deflects a wind to the left in the southern hemisphere and to the right in the northern hemisphere. So it needs a Coriolis force to cause the spurring wind. So it triggers the movement of a tropical cyclone. So the deflection of air results in a clockwise circulation in the southern hemisphere. And then we look at the stages of a tropical cyclone. Now, I want you to pay attention here in the stages of a development of a tropical cyclone. We've got 4 stages, similarly as we have 4 stages in a mid-latitude cyclone. Also here on a tropical cyclone, we have 4 stages of development of a tropical cyclone. Now, in the initial stage, what happens in the initial stage? There is convergence of air towards the low pressure. It creates now a vortex. Air pressure is about 1,002 hectopascals there, and then the wind speed is 60 kilometers per hour. That is in the initial stage. So that is the characteristic of a tropical cyclone when it's in its initial stage. Then in the second stage, which is known as the development stage, grade 12, there is intensity of the storm. So now our storm starts to intensify, it becomes stronger, it increases as the air continues to converge and rise in the low pressure center. There is divergency that takes place in the upper atmosphere. The air pressure drops below 990 hectopascal. So you can also track the air pressure at the center. So it is at 1,002 hectopascals in the initial stage. Now in the development stage, it now reduces to 990, which is just slightly below the 1,000 there. The wind speed now increases from 60 kilometers per hour to 100 kilometers per hour. The eye now starts to form in the center of the low pressure. So this eye starts to form where? In the development stage. And then there is a huge cumulonimbus clouds. They form the eye wall around the eye. So now that is where now our cross section starts to develop. And then the huge cumulonimbus clouds form around the eye and swirls to form a vortex. Then we go to the mature stage. The mature stage now, this is where the storm reaches its maximum intensity. Now it becomes very strong, and then the pressure, it drops to what? To 950. So it has dropped further 1,000 hectopascals. So the now pressure, it is at 950 hectopascals. And our wind speed, they exceed. Now it becomes very strong in terms of wind strength to a wind speed of exceeding a wind speed that is exceeding 180 kilometers per hour. Then the eye now in the mature stage, it is where it is fully developed. So it starts to develop in the development stage, but now in the mature stage, our eye is fully developed. The eye is clear, it's cloudless due to adiabatic warming of the subsiding air. Then the vortex now is well developed. Our vortex is now well developed and up to 600 kilometers in diameter. You can see now how big this tropical cyclone becomes in a mature, because now a mature, we expect to see now this tropical cyclone becoming more bigger and bigger. So the torrential, and it brings what we call torrential rainfall, which is heavy, extreme heavy rainfall with thunderstorms and lightning. So there's thunderstorms, there's thunder and lightning there in the mature stage. And then we go to the decaying, the degenerating stage, or the dissipating stage. Now, there is no dissipating stage in the mid-latitude cyclone, but here in the tropical cyclone, we have the decaying stage, or the dissipating stage, or the degenerating stage. So now, air cools down when entering the temperate latitudes. The cooler air flows into the cyclone, increasing the pressure. When moving inland, supply of moisture is cut off and the surface friction slows it down. Now our tropical cyclone is going to die out now in the decaying stage. Now, just to continue with our revision grade 12, we see that there is a presentation, that this is the presentation of a tropical cyclone on a satellite image and on synoptic weather map. As the exam guideline requires us, grade 12, to know this tropical cyclone and be able to work with what we call the satellite images and the synoptic map. You can see on a synoptic map there is the symbol of a tropical cyclone. There is a symbol of a tropical cyclone. Not forgetting, one of the characteristics of a tropical cyclone is that they are named alphabetically in each season. So if this is the first one, the name will start with alphabet A. The second one, the letter will start with letter B. So you look at the first letter of the name of that tropical cyclone, will tell you how many tropical cyclones have occurred, including that one that have been given on the synoptic map. So what I want you to caution you about here, grade 12, that you must pay attention to is the name. Sometimes they can say including, sometimes they can say before. So you must know. If it's including, then you add that tropical cyclone. If it's the fifth one, then you'll say it is the fifth one if it starts with the letter E. But if they say before, then that means you don't include the one that they've given you on the extract, and then you calculate how many before that alphabet E, for example. Now, one of the important things that I want to highlight is the active quadrant, which they call the semicircle. Now, this is where the strongest area of a tropical cyclone. This is the strongest area of a tropical cyclone. This is where danger is happening. Do you know? Danger, khafar, ingozi. That is where it is happening in the semicircle there. That is also called the active quadrant. When the winds rotating around the storm center coincide with the winds moving the cyclone system from east to west. So remember, the general movement of a tropical cyclone is from east to west. Why? Because it is driven by the easterlies. So it's driven by the strong easterlies to move from east to west, unlike the mid-latitude cyclone that are driven from west to east. So this tropical cyclone is from east to west, and then forward left hand quadrant in the southern hemisphere. So it's on our forward left hand quadrant in the southern hemisphere. That's where we find our semi-settle or the active quadrant, which is the very dangerous one in the system, which is known as the tropical cyclone. Then we look at these. I just want us to pay attention to these. There above, it is the cross section of a tropical cyclone. Now you can see these clouds, they form a vortex, and these ones, they form a vortex. So that will be vortex 1 and that will be vortex 2. Now you can see those tall cumulonimbus clouds are forming their eye wall, and then now there at the center we get our eye. Grade 12s, we can't say during the eye there are no temperatures that are taking place. We just say that they are calm. There is warm temperatures, but it's calm. There's no rain, there's no wind there. So it's just calm conditions. So don't say there is no weather conditions. There are weather conditions. It's just that they are calm. There's no wind, there's no rain there in the eye. Now it shows you here also the active quadrant, where our active quadrant is, and then that's the top view of our tropical cyclone. Now they can even give you a graph like this. They love graphs like this in the exam, so you must be able to interpret that this line represents wind speed, this another line that is following there, it is temperature. They will give you keys that which line it represents what, and you must be able to work with graphs. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now what is happening here is explained on this table there. Now there at 1, the air pressure is dropping, the temperature is increasing plus 27 degrees Celsius, so it makes our tropical cyclone to be able to form. And then the wind speed is fast from there, and then we just have light rainfall. Now in number 2, then that is where now the air pressure drops. There, do you see now number 2 where it is in our graph? There, the air pressure, it continues to drop, and then there's drops due to the cloud cover forming there. The temperatures are starting to drop now. Remember, in 1 they are increasing, they are above 27 degrees plus. Now there degrees Celsius. And then the speed of wind there is now hurricane strengthened winds, the strongest in the cyclone. So there in that stage, that is where they are hurricane strong winds. So hurricane strong winds are those very strong winds that occur during a tropical cyclone. Then we've got torrential rainfall as our rainfall. So torrential rainfall is more heavy. It's more like heavy rainfall. It's the other name for heavy rainfall. Then number 3, there you can see that is during the eye. Then our air pressure is now 950 hectopascals. Then it's greater than 950 degrees 950 hectopascals, sorry about that. And then temperatures, they start to rise to 28 degrees due to what? To adiabatic heating. Why are the temperatures starting to heat where we are having the eye there? It is because there is adiabatic heating, and then the wind speed is calm. In the eye, there is no wind. So number 3, there it will be during the eye, and then there will be clear skies and no rainfall. So don't expect the rainfall during the eye of a tropical cyclone. Now, just slightly as you move away from the eye, then there is a rise of air pressure, but it's still low, and then the temperatures now pick up to 27 degrees plus minus 27 degrees Celsius, and then our wind speed now, they start to become strong, they strengthen to hurricane winds, and then we get heavy rainfall, which is also known as torrential rainfall. And then in the last, just away from our tropical cyclone, then after the tropical cyclone has moved over an area, then the conditions of an air pressure, it normalizes the temperature, normalizes the speed, slows down and normalizes, and then our rainfall becomes less strong rainfall, which is softer rain that clears up, and then our tropical cyclone dissipates. And then we go to now the impact on humans, economy, and the environment. Now, how will this tropical cyclone affect the women? The torrential rainfall results in the risk of flooding. The strong winds damage and shatter windows and ripped off roofs. The storm surges causes damage to coastal areas, and then it damages infrastructure such as roads, bridges are washed away. There is a loss and damage to our homes as humans. Damage to water pipes results in lack of fresh water. The wind and water damage our power lines. Then we'll have load shedding, not even load shedding, a power cut. And then it may lead to death, injury of people and animals because of strong winds and floods and storm surge that occur due to this weather system, and then which will lead us to starvation because of lack of food, since our crops have been destroyed or damaged. The outbreak of diseases, remember, waterborne diseases are going to be perpetuated there. We are going to have diseases such as cholera, the typhoid, and etc. We are going to have major financial strains on families because now some people will lose their jobs, and then they will have to use money to repair what is damaged in their houses. Subsistence farmers lose everything, and then the swell of waves is dangerous for fishermen and humans. So they can't fish, and then it's very dangerous that people can even drown and die there. Let's look at in the environment. How does it affect us in the environment? The strong winds causes storm surge, which can cause the rapid rise in sea levels. The floods and salt water destroys agricultural crops. Then in our environment, flooding and rise in river levels because of rain can cause mudslides and landslides. It can also destroy our ecosystem and biodiversity. Now, the habitats of animals who stay in water, they will be flooded and washed away. They will find themselves on the ground where they won't survive. Livestock drown. There is lack of clean water. The threatening of food security, which leads to food shortages of nutritious food. There, damage to sewage pipes and results in pollution. Then how does the tropical cyclone affect our economy? The airports are closed because aircrafts cannot fly. Our airplanes cannot fly during these harmful storm, and then the damage to harbor facilities is very dangerous. Then our trading stops, and then it damages our businesses. They close down. There's no trading that is possible, as I've said, because now our harbors where we transport our goods now, they are not working. So there will be no trading there. Then the costly to repair damage. Remember, I said the government or people will have to spend more money in repairing all the damaged facilities or their houses. Then there will be job losses and unemployment. There will be high medical expenses. There will be costly insurance claims. Businesses and personnel will now, more people will be claiming on the insurances. Then it causes an impact in our economy. It will put a strain on local civil services, and it will limit our exports, which increases the imports of food and other commodities, which means the country will be spending more than selling. Then it is going to be hard in our economy, finding our economy in recession. Now, what are the strategies, grade 12, that we can use to minimize the impact? Remember, we can't stop the tropical cyclone because they're natural disasters, or they're natural weather phenomena. Now, we can install our monitoring systems to monitor the development of tropical cyclones. We can use satellite tracking, can monitor the development and the path, the satellite sensors to collect the details such as rainfall rates, the evidence weather predictions and warnings to people, early warning systems and communication for people to prepare to evacuate. And while they're evacuating, we evacuate the low-lying areas to protect them against floods and ensure that infrastructure is in good quality and they've used proper material to build our infrastructure. They keep our livestock in barns to protect them against the wind and rain and from drowning. People should stay indoors to protect themselves against flying debris and wind and rain. Yes, you grade 12 who likes to party, who like to go to different places, you should stay at home as this tropical cyclone is taking place, so that we can minimize the consequences and upgrade our technology in the less economic developed countries. As we know, South Africa is less developed, so we need to make our technology to be advanced so that we can sense these tropical cyclones, so that we can prepare, have good medical care that will reduce an outbreak of diseases, and now good emergency services that is well equipped, and local civil emergency services should be well prepared to assist those who are affected. Now, the major secret on these type of questions, grade 12, which can be long questions of tropical cyclone, will be to put your answers in full sentences, unless they said name, state, list, those action verbs that require one answer. But the rest of the examination verbs, then you must write your answers in full sentences. So read this part and go and solve a previous question paper. That is from me, KHUMALO.M, the Geography Sangoma. Have a lovely evening. Goodbye.